purchased that Daniel Wellington movement watch, at least watch this video. I'm sure you've all heard and seen these fashion watches like Daniel Wellington movement watches all over the internet, plastered in your ads, YouTubers shoving them down your throat. Oh, and they're so good. Before you buy those, I have a consideration for you, something to ask of you to consider. What's going on, guys? Anthony from Chronometer Check here, and if this is your first time here, I ramble about mostly affordable and mechanical watches. Consider subscribing to keep up to date with more videos, posting every single week, holding myself to that this time. So today we're going to be taking a look at a trio of watches from a brand I'm sure you're all familiar with, if not have heard of or seen. That is Timex watches. Now, we've probably passed these dozens of times in department stores, probably thinking nothing of them, and that's true, but that's also not necessarily a bad thing. Timex is an American brand that has been around since the 1800s, very reliable, very affordable. That's why I think they're such a good alternative to these fashion brands. Now today we're gonna be unboxing 3 Timex. Personally, I think Timex models are highly underrated. These are 3 that I think are a really good starting point, and it is the Timex Weekender, the Timex Weekender Chronograph, and the Timex Expedition. I'll have links to all these watches in the description below so you could learn more, do your own research. So to kick things off, we're gonna be starting with the Timex Weekender. They held back absolutely no expense in making this packaging as beautiful and luxurious as possible. You could see this is a highly refined cardboard box. You know, it's a glossy black, absolutely beautiful, gorgeous. Nobody actually tells you about getting new camera gear is that it makes recording much more complicated, and getting my hands over the tripod, it's like a workout. So here we have the Timex Weekender. It comes on a little C-clamp, as you can see here, with some instruction manuals in case you've never ever owned a watch before. I think that could be helpful for maybe a first-time owner who literally, you know, doesn't know how to set the time, and this probably seems crazy to you or I, or someone who owns a lot of watches, but for someone new to the watch world, I think that could be very helpful. The reason I picked these watches up and often recommend them is because we've seen watches like Movement and Daniel Wellington and all these fashion brand watches come about and kind of sweep the market, you know, come with cheap movements that are poorly built, unreliable. We don't really know how long these movements are gonna last, whereas Timex has heritage, a dependable workhorse watch that you can rely on. I suggest to get a watch like the Timex Weekender or any of these other options here, and that is because they're such good value for the money. Now, they're not the most gorgeous and luxurious piece, but that's not what it is, right? I mean, look at that. This is, I think, around $40 at the time recording this. This is actually a really good looking watch. Now, a really cool feature about Timex watches is actually it has an Indiglo technology, meaning if you hold down the crown, it'll actually light up the dial. So it's pretty cool for, you know, seeing in the dark. It's like Lume on steroids, but it's battery powered. And the Timex Weekender, I think, is a great starting point. You know, it's not super dressy, it's not super casual. On the right strap, you could wear it and it's gonna look absolutely great no matter what you do. Now, next up we have the Timex Expedition. This is kind of their field watch variation. The thing I liked about this watch in particular is the color scheme. Have this army green dial, and it contrasted by this orange second hand and this hour marker at the 12 o'clock position that honestly looks really good in my opinion. The case almost looks titanium, although it's not titanium. You're gonna have to shell up a few more clamps for that. Really good looking brushed, almost satin looking case, and I think it's just really well done. Now, again, relatively straightforward, cheap quartz movement. It does use a battery, nothing mechanical, nothing fancy. 50 meters water resistant, so decent enough. You could go, you know, wash your hands or get caught in the rain, or you could go swimming with it. For the most part, it's gonna be fine. So it could also be a good alternative as a beater watch. This variant is about 40 millimeters, and on my 7-inch wrist, it wears absolutely fine. The next and final watch we're going to be taking a look at today is the Timex Weekender Chronograph. I'm not going to lie, I cheated a little bit. I've been wearing this one the whole time, and this is by far my personal favorite of the bunch. I absolutely love it. Like, this watch has actually made it into my rotation, and I think it's a little bit more interesting than the regular Timex Weekender. It's a chronograph, so it does of course have the chronograph subdials and pushers and everything to use as a chronograph function. Now, this is a very functional chronograph. You know, it works as a chronograph. So for a $40, $50, $60 watch, or whatever it is at the time of recording this, I think that's really solid. Now, it does have that same kind of like cheap polishing that we see on the other Weekender, but who cares, right? It looks good enough, and this is something that we as watch people, you know, someone who who basically looks at and obsesses over watches all day, this is something that I notice and pay attention to. But if you're someone who is getting this as your first watch or just another watch to wear in your collection, you're not really like a huge watch geek, trust me, you're not going to notice unless you've compared it to thousands of dollars of watches before. You know, I'm a watch guy. I'm always checking out people's wrists. Sometimes I start a conversation if I do notice, you know, someone wearing a watch that I'm kind of interested in. And my friend was wearing a Timex Weekender Chronograph, actually this exact model. And I was like, hey, whoa, what watch is that? It looks really good. I didn't know you were into watches. And he's like, yeah, this is a Timex Weekender. I'm like, oh. He swapped the strap out for a leather strap. So he made it look, you know, even better than it did originally. And not only are these straps removable and you could put whatever strap you want on them, but they're also interchangeable with each other because they both have the same lug width of 20 millimeters. You could easily take out the strap from one of them, put it on another. Here I have this brown leather strap that I think would look absolutely awesome contrasted with the blue. And because these straps are single pass, they just go through both of the lugs at the same time. That means you could take it apart easily at any time. And then just take your other strap and just slot it in. Now this is it right here. This is what I'm talking about. So yeah, to wrap things up, I think Timex watches are completely overlooked, not only in the watch community, but also people just looking to get into watches for the first time. You know, instead of taking a look at fashion brands that are built questionably, take a look at Timex, a brand with tons of history, very affordable, really solid and reliable, and they look great. So I'll have the links to all these down below so you can check them out for yourself. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you've ever owned a Timex in the comments below. And if you like watches, I make videos about affordable watches every single week. So if you want to see more, feel free to drop a subscription down below. Let me know what you think.